time we give back. Sow a seed and show someone where love's at. Even if you don't give a dime, give your heart and share your time. Help somebody else in life. Give back. Let's give back.
Welcome to this episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform, where we showcase urban superheroes here in the Bronx and around the world. I am your host, Hosea James DeVan II. Today we have a very special guest, one of the top leaders, political leaders, community leaders in the mighty borough of Queens, my good friend, Dr. Tony Andrews. Tony is a district leader of the 32nd Assembly District in Queens. Also, he is the chairman of the New York City Health and Hospitals Advisory Council. Let us welcome my good friend, Dr. Andrews. Tony, what's up, bro?
Hey, my brother, what's going on?
Oh, man. Life is challenging these days, man. Life is challenging these days. How you feeling? Wellness check, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm a little under the weather today, man, but I'm gonna try to bring it as always, man. You know, we go back a long way. You guys, you prepped me for days like this when I was a little younger.
Brother, you've been a shining star for quite some time, man. For quite some time, and we are honored to have you on this show, bro. What I'd like for you to do is just open up and share with our audience some tidbits about Tony Andrews. Give us a little history of who you are.
Okay, yeah, sure, great. So I'm a Democratic district leader for the 32nd Assembly District, which includes the areas of Jamaica, Rochdale Village, Richmond Hill, a little bit of South Ozone Park, predominantly Rochdale Village, Jamaica. And I've been doing this for a number of years. Before being a district leader, I was a Democratic state committeeman. And so what I consider myself is not just a political activist, but a community activist. And as you and I, both know, it's important to have activists in the community that are concerned about the constituents and what their needs are. And there are some people that get involved with politics because they believe that politics can further the ends. And for me, it's an ends to a means. It's using politics to be able to help other people. I'm in a ministry of love, a ministry of helping people, and I use politics to be able to do that. And that's really, in essence, what I do as a Democratic district leader. Oh, you can look it up and take a look and Google it and say, what does a district leader do? And I think, recently there's been some stuff about a particular mayoral candidate who's in the news who promised an intern, supposedly, a Democratic district leadership. We'll find out whether that's true or not. And so I think a lot more people will be interested in what is this district leadership? What type of power did he promise her, to stay quiet about this if this is true? So I think there'll be a lot more people interested in what a district leader is and finding out what a district leader is in the weeks to come. But in essence, we really represent the Democrats in the district, and we help to elect and select people to run for public office. In essence, that's really what I do. But I do so much more as an activist, including serving as the chairperson of the Health and Hospital Queens Community Advisory Board, where I make sure that I'm a liaison to the community from the hospital, and where we represent the community's needs and interests at Queens Hospital. I'm also the chairperson of the Council Community Advisory Boards for the entire health and hospital system for the city of New York. So I represent the council where all the representatives for every single facility is sit. And we're, as seated, we make decisions about how we can best serve the populace of New York. And of course, we have a populace that is a very large population of people who come to public hospitals to get their services in public hospital facilities, as you know. We have a lot of indigent, poor people in our communities of color in particular, and they can't afford to go to some of the private hospitals. So what we try to do is to provide a service to those people in our communities of color and other communities who cannot afford to be at the private hospitals, to make sure that they get the same type of service from the public hospital system. A lot of people are not familiar with what's a public hospital, what's a private hospital. So you may not know that hospitals such as Bellevue, which have been around for a long time, or Health and Hospital Queens, or some of the other hospitals are public hospitals. We provide the same care and the same type of service. In fact, better than a lot of public hospitals. But you may not know that it's actually a public healthcare system which is funded by your tax dollars.
Hey, brother, I think that uh, our audience certainly will benefit from having a better understanding of that role of district leader because we part of what this program is about is education. How do we get engaged the community more so? And we grew up in a time, I'm a couple years older than you, but we grew up in a time where there was a high level of civic involvement, higher level of civic involvement. So part of our mission as an organization is to continue to try to drive more people to get involved in. It could be politics, it could be your school board, it could be your PTA, it could be coaching, it could be mentoring, getting involved, organizing your block. But we need to get our people more engaged, more involved, taking more responsibility of how they live their lives and how things impact their lives. So that's kind of what we're about.
No question.
You also at York College too, right?
Yes, I am. So I'm the Associate Director of Student Leadership and Campus Programs. And at York College, what I try to do is to groom students to become leaders, not just at York College, but leaders for the future. And that's what about building the next generation, getting them ready and prepared to be leaders. When we were younger, we had, different organizations that did that, like Alpha Phi Alpha did that in our community to a great extent, took a lot of young Black men and turned them into leaders. Uh, we try to do the same thing at York College. We try to take young men and women who have potential or who may not realize they have potential to be leaders. And we try to make sure that they have the skills necessary so that they can lead us into the next generation.
Uh, I appreciate the shout out to that great organization Alpha Phi Alpha. I know we have several friends that are connected. I'm a part of the organization, and I look forward to someday you being part of the brotherhood as well, man.
So do I. So do I.
Amen. Amen. What we're going to do now is take a brief public service announcement break, and then we'll be right back.
What if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Welcome back to this episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform. We are having a delightful conversation with my good friend, Dr. Tony Andrews. Tony, you touched in a previous segment about your role in healthcare from a leadership standpoint, advising the New York City Health and Hospitals Advisory Board. You're the chairperson of that particular organization. We are in the midst of a historic critical crisis in terms of the pandemic that we're dealing with, the coronavirus. Yet, in spite of the fact that we have now obtained 3 vaccines that could help to improve not just our quality of life in New York City, but throughout our country and around the world, we're starting to get feedback from the community that there's a resistance in engaging and taking the vaccine. What are some of the steps that we can do as a community to get more people to understand how critical and how important it is to get on board with the vaccine?
Well, I think people can look around the world and see the things that are happening around the world. Just when you think the tide is stemmed, when you think you've got this coronavirus beaten, it can pop back up with new strains. And India is a perfect example. You know, we thought we were, you know, through with the worst of the pandemic throughout the world for the most part, that we had kind of stemmed the tide. And we have a situation there in India, which you know just kind of brings it back to the world view. You know, if you thought you know we were getting past this, you can look over in India and see what's going on, and you know the pandemic has now traveled there and become, it was there already, but it's really now become the epicenter of the world. We were at one time, and now we see the same thing happening in India. Um, the only way out of this is to do this vaccine, right? To get the vaccine, right? You got to be able to understand that the vaccine was created to be able to give us a way out of this pandemic. And so many people are concerned about taking this vaccine and are unsure. Um, so approximately 8,000 people, you know, have had severe results, severe side effects from taking this vaccine. But millions of people have not had those severe results and have, you know, got the vaccine and are now protected. Uh, Approximately 40% of the populace has still not received this vaccine. And it's incredible to me. I'm thinking about, you know, how so many people were saying, once I get the vaccine, I'll be okay. And, you know, and for the most part, you will. It doesn't prevent you from getting the virus. But if you do get the virus, and 97% of the people that get these vaccines, for the most part, approximately 92, 97%, depending on the vaccine, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, approximately 90, 97% of the people that get the vaccine don't have to worry about catching this virus. But if they do get the virus at some point in time, it will be less severe. It won't have severe consequences. My cousin got it about a month ago, I guess about 2 months ago now.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. From her daughter, who got it from her kids. And she didn't make it. One of my first cousins, about a month ago, she succumbed to the virus and the complications as a result of the virus. So I'm a huge proponent of getting the vaccine. We have healthcare workers who have decided, well, I'm not so sure I'm gonna get the vaccine. Let me see, you know, how it works out with everybody else. Let me see what it does to people's bodies months from now, a year from now. Well, you may not have a month or a year from now, because if you contract the virus, maybe you're gonna be okay. But maybe, as I said to a young woman the other day, maybe your mother won't be okay, or maybe your grandmother won't be okay. Um, so you may think, oh, I'm going to be okay if I get the virus, but you may pass it on to somebody else, somebody older, somebody with comorbidities, and they may not be okay. So in order to protect yourself, but to protect those who you love and care about around you, it's important to get the vaccine. And I can't stress it enough. I've created a program called the Vaccine Ambassador Program at Queens Hospital. And we've been bringing people in from all walks of life, all cultures, all ethnicities. And we've had them take the vaccine at Queens Hospital. And then we put them on video. We put them on social media. We've had them take pictures so they could post it on social media to encourage those people that they love, who are friends, family, neighbors, to go get the vaccine. A lot of them are influencers, people like Karen Towns, the vice chair of the NAACP nationally. Darrell Towns, who you know is a friend of ours, former assembly person and DHC, our commissioner. Vinny Armano, who is the head of the Society of Polizia Generosa, which is the oldest Italian heritage organization in the country, because a lot of Italians have not gotten the vaccine, have decided not to get the vaccine. If you look at areas in Brooklyn and Staten Island, you can see Staten Island was had one of the highest percentages of people who had contracted the coronavirus. You know, we got the Nepalese community in. And the Nepalese community came in and we had them get the vaccine because they live in an area, Elmhurst. We were in Queens, the epicenter of the epicenter at one time. And if we had an epicenter of the epicenter of the epicenter, it was at Elmhurst Hospital. And then secondly, at Queens Hospital. A lot of the Nepalese community who live in New York, and people don't know we have a very large Nepalese community that actually lives in New York. They live in that area, which is around Elmhurst Hospital. And that was hard hit. And they couldn't get the vaccine because there were so many people going to Elmhurst to get the vaccine. So we set up an appointment and brought in over 300 people from the Nepalese community to get the vaccine in Queens Hospital. And then we took pictures of every single one of them so that they could share it with their friends and family to say, see, it's safe, get the vaccine. So we've got to continue to stress this to New Yorkers of all walks of life, all ethnicities, and all age groups, especially those who now can get it, who are teenagers, who think that they're invincible. I mean, you and I were both once young people who were we're still young, but once those teenagers, or those early 20-year-olds who thought that we were invincible, we realize as we've gotten a little older that, we got to take better care of ourselves, and we got to do some things to take care of those people around us. Some of them still don't believe that they need to get the vaccine. And I try to stress to them, you may not think that you need to get the vaccine, but you need to get it because of the people you care about around you. If you don't have kids, you have fathers and mothers and grandparents that you're around, great aunts and great uncles. It takes a village, and you and I both know we had villages to help raise us, or else we would not be where we are. So we continue to stress the significance of everybody getting the vaccine. The only way we can really beat this pandemic, really beat this virus, is to get the vaccine. And that's the way we'll develop herd immunity.
Amen, brother. And again, I want to express my heartfelt condolences for the loss of your relative. I can personally relate to so much of what you just said. My father, thank God, did actually take the vaccination, and as a result may have saved his life. My dad is 83 years old, and he was in between the first and the second, but he also contracted the disease and was in the hospital for 49 days, and that was for his life, man. So I believe if not for him taking that first shot, my dad may not be with us today. And my brother, one closest to me, my brother Gerald, just got out of the hospital this Wednesday. Double pneumonia, blood clots in the lung, in between shots. The first one, didn't get to take the second one, but again, had he not gotten that first shot.
Praise God.
Amen. But we're gonna take one more brief public service announcement, and then we're gonna follow up with Dr. Tony Andrews, and he's gonna give us a glimpse of what's happening now in New York City politics. We'll be right back.
I already knew that I was gonna go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science, become the mayor or something, make the situation better for other people. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Welcome back to this final episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform. We are here with Dr. Tony Andrews out of Queens, New York. He's just about to give us his take on some of the citywide races, in particular the mayoral race and comptroller race. Tony, who do you have a horse in this race?
Yeah, I got a horse in both races. The mayoral race is a very complicated race, and people think, it's so late in the game, but really, truthfully, it's still kind of early. We've got a little bit more than, maybe a little bit less, I would say now, than 2 months to go in this mayoral race. But there's so much that can happen in this next month and a half. And, you talk about people making moves, as if you're in a horse race, and, somebody can come around the bend, and, somebody could stumble, and,
Right.
sometimes, the jockey could ride a horse a little bit too hard and he starts giving away towards the end. So there's a lot that can happen in the next approximately 2 months. I mean, the other day, as I talked about earlier, we had a mayoral candidate who was accused of something by a former intern up in Albany. And so now he looks like he's losing support. It's all over the back pages, in the front pages. Scott Stringer is the New York City controller. And I guess we'll start with that, and now he's fighting back charges of sexual harassment and other things from an intern. And he was considered one of the leading candidates. The Working Families Party has pulled their endorsement. The United Federation of Teachers continues to give support, but we'll see how long that lasts. If some of these charges look like they're valid charges from this young lady, or if anyone else comes forward. Because he stated in a press conference the other day that he may have others that may come forward. I'm sorry.
About how long ago? I know this is something that has come up recently, but these charges stem back I was told 20 years.
Yeah, a few years when he was in the assembly. These are not charges that stem from when he was New York City controller. So it's been a few years. But we live in a different world nowadays, man. Now women feel empowered to come forward, and they are coming forward in record numbers, depending on who you speak to. I mean, we look at football, and Deshaun Watson is going through a situation. Scott Stringer states that there could be more accusations. Now, again, these are accusations. Don't mean that these things are true, but they can be very damaging to a candidate's political campaign.
Right.
And then we have, of course, the major candidates, Maya Wiley, and you have Catherine Garcia and Diane Gonzalez. Maya Wiley may capitalize on this because she may be the person who benefits most. The Working Families Party may decide to endorse her. And some of the other left organizations, like my organization, my union, the Professional Staff Congress, may decide to pull out and support her if we find that some of these accusations are true. And the UFT could eventually decide to move forward that way also. So, she could benefit, a great deal from these charges against the New York City controller. And then, of course, you have the two major African-American male candidates. Of course, Ray McGuire, who I think the world of. I think it's fantastic as a candidate. A lot of people don't know him because he's been behind the scenes helping people for years with their businesses and with Citicorp. And he's got a lot of people who are on his team who I think highly of, starting with Valerie Jarrett, President Obama's former advisor, and Charles Phillips from the Apollo Theater. He's hired a lot of people from Southeast Queens also, including my god sister, Daquana.
Our guy, Gregory Meeks, as well.
Greg Meeks has endorsed him. Greg is my big brother and your brother. Congressman Greg Meeks is a world leader, chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. Greg and I endorsed him at a press conference with a number of other district leaders and another one of your Alpha brothers, Senator Leroy Comrie, who was there. And so we feel very strongly about Ray McGuire. Eric has been around for a long time. He's been a borough president. He's been a state senator. He's somebody that we know. We just feel that given the current climate and the economic situation that we are in New York, that a person who has been dealing with the dollars and dealing with staff of hundreds of people is better suited to walk into a chief executive office like that than anyone. So we feel that he is the best candidate, and so we've supported him. But if you look at the polls, Eric is doing very well. In fact, he's picked up some numbers, and he's right behind Mr. Yang right now, who is a presidential candidate who seems to be still holding a lead, despite the fact that he moved out of New York during the pandemic. And I like the guy, but I mean, while we were dealing with this and fighting this here, I mean, he said, let me get out of here and let me come back when things are all right. So even though I like him, that to me is a major sticking point for people supporting him. You don't leave when the going gets tough. When the tough gets going is when, or I should say, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going, right? So that's a sticking point for me. And then the controller's race. We have some major candidates in the controller's race. Obviously, you have Brad Landis, who is it looks like he may be leading the pack right now. David Stringer, I should say, who is Scott Stringer, who's a longtime friend of mine's brother, who I've known for a long time. We were young Democrats together. And David Stringer right now is, I should say, the current controller. But he has left some things to resolve, including the sewerage situation in Jamaica. So anybody walking into David Stringer's spot, the city controller's spot, is going to have to resolve some things that he's leaving behind to resolve, such as the sewerage issue, where we had a backup of close to 100 people's sewage. And they stated that it was because of the grease in the pipes, which is insulting to us, in the community. So only you say in the Black community, we're the ones that have a lot of hair and grease in our pipes, and that's what backed up our sewage. And then they retracted it. But David was somebody who said that he would be, he would be there to make it, make things whole for us. And he did not follow through with this pledge to everyone. We have about 30 homeowners, and it's close to 2 years, who have still not had their situations resolved. So, we have a candidate from Queens, David Weprin, who is running for this spot also. And I should say Scott Stringer. Scott Stringer has talked about this and said that he is going to make things whole and didn't do it. We have David Weprin in Queens who is running for the spot. So again, as I get my stringers confused here.
Little
but
string music.
but yeah, but you know, Scott Stringer had some things that he's got to resolve that he did not resolve. And so you have a candidate like David Weprin, and hopefully will be able to come and do stuff to resolve that for the homeowners who still have not been made whole in terms of their finances, who've had to leave their homes. Some had to gut their homes because of the sewerage problem in their homes. And then you have another gentleman, you know, who I've known for a long time, a good friend of mine, Senator Kevin Parker, who has been around for a long time. And Senator Kevin Parker is a strong candidate also for New York City Controller. You know, the Queens County Democratic Organization, we've endorsed David Weprin for City Controller Scott Stringer's spot that he's vacating. So some people may not realize he's vacating the spot, and that's why he's running for mayor. He has to vacate the spot because of term limits. Right. So we have a few candidates out there for this spot. And again, hopefully some of them will be able to resolve issues that he left behind, such as the sewerage issue in Jamaica.
And Tony, I want to take this time to thank you for joining us for this episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform. You have shared with the audience some incredible wisdom as well as some important facts about New York City government and New York City politics. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate you, brother. And again, a little under the weather today. So sometimes, you know, I hope I came across well today to the audience. And I hope you know, at times, you know, as you're sitting there and you're feeling not too well, you know, things can become a little cloudy at times. And you're sitting there saying, whoa, wait a second. I probably should go back and lay down a little bit. But I wanted to make sure I came on today to bring this to you, man, because you guys taught me when I was younger, you know, there's no excuses. If you're ill, it doesn't matter. You're out there, you bring it. Whenever you have to bring it, you bring it. And you guys taught me that when I was young. So as far as I was concerned, no illness was going to keep me off of camera today and keep me from being a part of this, man. So I hope I brought it. I hope I brought it significantly for the audience. And I'm honored that you would ask me to be on here today, my brother.
Oh, man, you absolutely brought it. And we'll have you back, man. We will definitely have you back.
Thank you, Hosea.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform. And remember, if it's in your heart, do your part. Today's help equals tomorrow's hope. I am your host, Hosea James Van II. See you next time.